Oz was more based on a person than any character I'd ever come up with, because I knew a fella named Oz who was very stoic, quiet, lead guitarist in a band. And I thought about that guy, and I thought, I need to put Willow in a big Eskimo outfit. I don't know why, but I really need to. And I need this guy to fall in love with her because she's in an Eskimo outfit, because we were looking for somebody new for Willow, somebody to shake it up so it wasn't just a triangle. This was in the second season. And a lot of people came in and read, and some were interested, and they were okay, but Seth was the only guy who was like, captured the complete equanimity and cool of the guy.
What does a girl have to do to impress you?
Well, it involves a feather boa and the theme to a summer place. I went in to read for this character, and he was a lead guitarist in a band, and being a fan of bands like Weezer, and you know, where the lead guitarist is a cool guy, but he's cool in a dorky kind of way, I thought this guy would be charismatic in a geeky kind of way. So I actually went into the audition with these big, thick, black frame glasses, and read it, and Joss was like, I want him to, because I said, what do you want this guy to be? And he said, stoic, calm, and unflappable. And so the whole thing kind of had this calm about it, even though the dialogue was funny.
Hey, who is that girl?
And I did the whole thing with these stupid glasses, and I wound up getting the part. And then I went in to do it, and the first scene that we shot is me up on the stage in the bronze. So I'm up on stage in the bronze, and I'm seeing her, and I'm wearing the glasses, and they're about to shoot it, and Joss comes up to me and he goes, the glasses, I don't think it's gonna work, like the glasses. And I was like, oh, come on, he's geeky, cool. He's like, America's not, this is enough of a, you know, fake you being the lead guitarist guy, the cool, hip, good-looking. We're just gonna take the glasses off, make it less hard for them to swallow. So Oz could have had big black glasses. He was an inch away.
And I actually remember saying to Seth, you know what, can you do less? He was like, I wanted to do less. I could do less. And just that total assurance of presence was extraordinary. So that was a completely new flavor and very unique to him.
Do you want to make out with me?
What?
They had this idea of developing some kind of relationship, but they liked us passing like ships in the night. Me always seeing her, her completely unaware, and then Joss wanted to lead up to this big moment where we'd actually meet and see that we had so much in common, and that was the episode where they're recruiting people for this secret government program. We're the only two kids in there, and they kind of hinted at all these ideas they had, and I was so just along for the ride, really enjoying the opportunity to play someone like this. It was a character so unlike me, and yet it fit very well.
The monkey's the only cookie animal that gets to wear clothes, you know that? You're the sweetest smile I've ever seen.
And then early on, Joss came to me and said, we kind of had this idea about making you a werewolf. What do you think about that? And I said, let's do it. All right, sure.
Willow, please. Get out of here!
Having him be a werewolf was amusing to us because we liked the idea of the werewolf as the metaphor of uncontained, raw, male aggression and sexuality, all these things that Oz would be the last person in the world to show, but is sort of in all of us.
The whole notion of men who are beasts is a real theme in our show. There's a part of male-female relationships there's a real tension that between the desire to be in a committed, loving, safe union and to also just run wild and to run free. And I think that exists in both men and women, but it's even stronger in men. It's literally something that I feel like men feel like they can't always control, like they have an animal in them.
Time's up. Rules change.
You know, really until he met up with Veruca, it was the sort of opposite of who he was, and so it was an interesting plot point. It was great fun to use, especially in Beauty and the Beast, when he actually is like, oh, you're gonna beat me up? Well, the moon's up, so maybe not.
About this cage, when that sun sets, you won't be alive to see it.
That was very intense and fun, and that was about, you know, male aggression, and here's the guy who's got the classic metaphor for that, just using it to put down the baddie, which was very cool.
And the first time we did it, because they wanted it to be such a menace, and I'm not a big guy, they hired a stunt guy. and put him in this giant suit with all this animatronic and just raw, big, scary werewolf.
I wanted to go do like an American Werewolf in London, howling type, really elaborate, you know, mechanical snout thing that pretty much all it did was snarl all the time. And for some reason, the producers kind of seemed to think that this was the right way to go also until they finally saw it on set, and they're like, well, all this thing does is snarl, and it doesn't really show much range, like, emotionally. Like, well, you know, it's a mechanical head with a snarl on it.
It never was really effective, and we said, all right, if we ever do that again, we're gonna make it more interesting.
The rabbit could not. Hey, maybe we should try a less stimulating passage.
Eventually, we kind of got it to be more of a prosthetic type makeup.
Run. Lee Whitaker was a stunt guy who we worked together kind of developing the movement of it. We both got in the suit. The suit was like a 6-hour makeup process, and once you're in it, you're in it. So you just shoot everything you have to shoot. But he was wonderful, Lee, in developing it with me. I said, listen, I just want to make sure that moves like an animal, looks like an animal. And he comes to me the next day, he's like, I'm watching National Geographic like crazy. I'm watching all these documentaries on Siberian Huskies. I'm like, take a look at this. Got the movement, I was like, that's the guy, right there.
Animals kill.
You're right. We kill.
But for me, it was just about, this is the last person in the world you'd expect. And his reaction to it was emotional, but at the same time, very much his own. You know, one of the big themes of the show, the fact that Willow finds out, and it's like, well, that's okay.
You're nice, and you're funny, and you don't smoke. Yeah, okay, werewolf, but that's not all the time. I mean, 3 days out of the month, I'm not much fun to be around either.
You are quite the human. Because I was a regular cast member, I was on all these adventures that maybe I didn't have to be, you know? And this is one thing that Joss and I actually discussed right before we went into the 3rd season when we were talking about me leaving the show, was even though I was so periphery, you know, they had to involve me in plots. And even though it didn't seem like Oz made a lot of sense in all these plots, to get me out of those scenarios was really difficult too, because I was so deeply involved, even on an outside level.
How can you be so calm?
Long, arduous hours of practice.
We worked very hard to include him as much as possible, but we also, I think, we're at a bit of a crossroads with Oz himself. What do you do with this guy?
Oh, I'm Faith.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say there's a new Slayer in town.
We all kind of felt that, gosh, we'd like to do something a little bit more significant, but there's more important plots to be developed here. The whole thing with Faith, the whole thing with the mayor, and I sat down with Joss at the end of that season, and we really talked about, this is what I had to accomplish here. Him telling me this is what I had to accomplish, and I've got ideas for Oz in the future. And I said, well, maybe the best thing would be for me to go back to being recurring, so that you could use me when it makes sense, and I'm not here all the time. I could do other things in the meantime, and it wasn't going to work that way. It's so difficult, and I was so buried in the mythology and in the scenarios of every show that it's like you either stay or go.
Yeah, I guess I could see how it'd be dull for you.
See ya.
Yeah.
Character of Oz left the show because Seth Green is a brilliant actor who had a lot of opportunities in movies, and he went to pursue those.
You're changing.
But you can't. There's no moon tonight.
I have to get away.
What happened was, because Seth decided to move on, we were like, well, we have this arc, we're going to draw it over the season. Oh, we have this arc, we're going to draw it over 45 minutes. But what happened was, we spent a couple of episodes building up, we really got to just hit it in the face. And I was shooting the first episode of that season going, okay, he's got to leave, it's got to be mythic. And that's when I thought, Veruca, we'd been talking about a triangle, and if we can do this, he has to kill her. He has to kill her to save Willow, and that will be the thing that is big enough to make him actually leave.
Brooke was right about something. The wolf is inside me all the time. And I don't know where that line is anymore between me and it.
And in this particular instance, it was incredibly important because Oz was a hugely popular character. And we had to find something that would break people's hearts the way it broke Willow's. And if Allison was any good at crying or conveying pain, it would have been better. But, you know, she plays it light, but I still think it worked.
I felt like the great success of Oz and Willow was the fact that Alice and I trusted each other implicitly. And I knew that I could count on her, and she knew that she could count on me to be present, to be 100%, to not shy away from anything, and to really protect one another on set, in the scenes. And they wrote to that. You know, they really just made her feel safe with me and made me feel safe with her. And you saw a side of Oz that no one else saw in her presence, and you saw a side of Willow that no one else saw. And it was a really good, strong relationship.
Ooh, boyfriend. It's my on-campus boyfriend.
And where else does somebody like me get to double fist crossbows? I mean, you don't get an opportunity to play anybody cooler than that.
Back off, Harmony!
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun being Oz. I think I better take off.